Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to share an opinion with you guys that I've been kind of formulating over the last 6 or so months. Might be a little bit controversial. I'm not saying that this is the absolute one way to do things. I'm just putting this out there for you guys to consider, and you decide on your own if this is something that you're interested in or something that you're not interested in. I have started formulating the opinion over the last couple of months that backup sights on guns that have Holosun optics are not necessary. Okay, not that you can't have them or that you shouldn't have them if you're not planning to put anything else on there. But if you need the space for something else, I'm not going to hesitate to take the backup sights off. I'll give you guys an example. Here I have a Palmetto PX9. Okay, sometimes I shoot this. I love these 9mm ARs because I can shoot the steel targets up close. Okay, I get to practice a lot of that CQB, and also I can shoot at distance. I can shoot this out to 200 plus yards. So for that reason, right, it makes sense for me to have this Holosun 510C optic, and I've got the 3x magnifier here, so I can flip back and forth between shooting close or shooting, taking those distance shots. So if you look at this AR over here, with the 510C over here, which is kind of a big optic, right, and the magnifier back here, there's really not that much space, right, because I can't move the optic onto the rail over here. That's not a very good place for it to be. So it needs to be on the upper receiver. So I really don't have that much space for a rear sight. Okay, so I made the decision that, hey, I'm not likely to use that rear sight, so I'm just gonna take it off, not have backup sights on this. The only time I have found that I use backup sights is either if I'm specifically training somebody on how to use iron sights, or if I want to change optics, right? So let's say I want to change this optic. It makes sense for me to have the flip-up sights, because what I do is I kind of I zero in the flip-up sights to the optic, and then when I change optics, I'm able to use those iron sights to get that dot sort of zeroed in, and then with just a limited number of shots, I can get a good zero. Okay, so it does save some ammunition in that sense. But if that's what I was intending to do, hey, I can just easily take off this magnifier, right? The magnifier comes off really easy, right? Take off the magnifier. I can put on the flip-up sights over there, get my zero, do my optic change, and go from there. Okay, and here's another example. Right? Here's another PX9. Right, this is more of a plain one. Again, this had flip-up sights on it for a very long time. Okay, and what I found is that occasionally I want to shoot this at distance, so I can take this magnifier, put it on there, lock it down, and voila! I now have a rifle that I can shoot at distance, because the magnifier really doesn't need to be zeroed in. So for me, that is a lot more practical. So what I don't want to do is concern myself with that thing that I might do at some point in the future. That's I want to focus on the things that I know I'm going to be doing on a relatively regular basis. Okay, and that's shooting close distance, shooting far away, going back and forth between the two. Having this magnifier over here is a lot more useful to me than having flip-up sights. Now, let me say this: when I started shooting, I mean, the red dots on rifles and pistols was not a thing, right? It really didn't become a thing. It really didn't start getting really popular and common until like around 2010. I know it existed before that, but it wasn't until then that it really started catching on and kind of becoming the standard thing. Okay, so when I because I'm a full-time firearms instructor, what I found is that when I started training people, when I put the red dot on a rifle, right, I found that first I could train people a lot faster. More importantly, women really liked shooting ARs with red dots on it. They did not like shooting the iron sights so much, but they really liked shooting the red dots. So, I'm basically interested in expanding the gun community, right? That's really why I do what I do, right? So for me, that was an instant. Okay, this is the way it's got to be, right? If this is what new shooters like, if this is what beginners are attracted to, if it makes it easier and more enjoyable for them to learn, that's where I got to start. So I started putting the the red dots on the rifles. And what I saw is the women loved shooting the ARs with the red dots. They didn't care so much with for the pistols that had the iron sights on it. About 2 years ago, when I started putting red dots on pistols, now they love shooting pistols. Okay, so it's definitely a winner. Okay, but where I was going at with this was that when I first started putting red dots on rifles, I mean, it wasn't something I was so sure that it was going to be successful, right? That I didn't know that people were going to like it. So I started off with the cheap ones, right? You know, basically, on the one hand, some of the cheap ones were not reliable. They were losing zero. Quickly upgraded to something a little bit better. A little bit better, still had battery problems, okay? At that time, they didn't have the auto off, shake awake, so I would always forget to turn them off. So the next time I went to pick up one of these ARs, there was like almost a 50-50 chance that it wasn't going to be working because I forgot to turn the battery off. Okay, so there was a serious reliability issue. You know, and in most of the time it was because it was user error, right? It was because I kept forgetting to turn them off. So yeah, at that point it's like, yeah, every AR with a red dot had to have backup sights on it. Okay, there was no debating that. They had to have backup sights on it because it was a 50-50 chance that the optic was going to be working the next time I went to use the rifle. Okay, well then at some point I started using the Holosuns. Okay, and the one that you see on this Lynx 12, this is basically an AK-47 shotgun. It doesn't have the magazine in there yet, but basically this is an AK-47, right? But shoots 12 gauge. The optic that you see here, this is the 503 CU, solar powered with a battery backup. It has a 65 MOA circle with the dot. This optic started its life on an AR-15. Okay? So here's the thing: the AR-15 that optic went on to, right, basically ran its full life. I shot the barrel out at 21,000 rounds. Okay, so in case you're interested, how many rounds can your AR shoot? About 21,000 rounds. Shot the barrel out completely on that, and had it replaced under warranty. Radical Firearms does have a lifetime warranty on everything, including the barrel. And at the time, they said I was like the fourth person to shoot out one of their barrels. So here's the thing: this is what they did for me. I sent in the rifle. This is the receiver that was on that original rifle. So they basically changed the whole gun, except for the receiver, which is the part with the serial number. But so they changed everything: the rifle, the grips, everything, the upper. So they basically gave me a brand new rifle with the exception of the receiver. So the point I'm trying to bring out here is that the optic that was on that gun, on that AR, outlasted the gun, and it's now on another gun, and this one's up to about 15,000 rounds. Okay, now the whole 15,000 rounds was not on this gun. There was basically, I'd say, about half, about eight. This optic has done about 8,000 rounds on this gun, and I should also say that rifle that was shot out with the 21,000 rounds, not, you know, because I did buy that at a later point, so let's say about 12,000 rounds. You know, that optic did about 12,000 rounds on that gun. So this optic here has done more than 20,000 rounds between this gun and the one that it came off of, and it has outlasted the guns. Because here's the thing: that AR that I'm talking about, I broke the trigger group 3 times. You know, or some part. You know, I think the trigger, the hammer springs broke. You know, so basically, I had to change out the trigger group 3 times on that AR, and I had to change out parts of the bolt, and at some point the entire bolt 3 times as well. Okay, so I had, within 21,000 rounds, I had 3 bolt breaks and 3 trigger group breaks. Okay, and if you are questioning how likely it is that I ran up those rounds, well, let me show you the ground over here. All right, there's a lot more than 20,000 rounds here. There's probably about 200,000 rounds, including the 9mm and all that good stuff. Okay, so basically, you know, that's just here. You know, I do a lot of, you know, traveling to different ranges, so these guns go to a lot of different ranges. So, you know, my guns do a very high volume of shooting. So when I tell you that the optics, these houses specifically, the Holosun optics will outlast the gun, you can believe it. Okay, this 9mm, this is the 9mm PX9. This one here has done about 10,000 rounds. At different ranges that I've been to, all 9mm. So there's 10,000 rounds on this one. There's about 10. No, this one's got about 7,000 rounds. This one over here has about 10,000 rounds. Okay, those are all 9mm. Now, these optics that you see on there, okay, these are the 510Cs. These were not the original ones on there. These guns actually started off their lives with the 507Cs, right? These are pistol optics that I put on a riser. Those are the optics that started off on those guns. More than half of those 10,000 round counts were done with these pistol optics, and basically they work. On this one over here, this one over here, you can see I've had to change out the trigger group. I had to put in. I was having problems with the pins breaking on this. This one I've also had to change out the bolt on this. Right, Palmetto had to send me a replacement bolt. So basically, so basically, your bolts and your trigger groups are going to break before the Holosuns. Okay, so that's the realistic feedback. These pistols over here, I got 3 of them. These are all approaching about 10,000 rounds. Okay, same thing, really high round counts. I'll tell you this: the battery life is not what Holosun tells you if you're using the guns as frequently as I do. With the rifles, because the rifles do spend a lot of time in the safe. Because going to sleep, right, with the go to sleep, shake awake. So with the rifles, I typically have to change the batteries about every year, right? Obviously I use the guns. With the pistols, the ones that sit in the safe, that I use. I spend a lot of time in the safe, and then I will travel. Because remember, when I'm traveling, these guns are in my truck. The truck's moving. They don't get to sleep, right? The trucks, while I'm driving, they're awake the whole time. With the optics that I carry, right, like this one over here, in the summertime, they're going to get about a month, right? In the wintertime, because it gets dark earlier, I go home earlier. So in summertime, I get 1 month. In the wintertime, I get about 2 months of battery life with the optics that I'm carrying, okay? Also, this 507K does not have the solar panel, and the it doesn't have the solar panel, so it only has one battery source. It doesn't automatically dim itself, so it does use up more battery because of that. So there is a bit of a battery issue with that. But on these other optics, these other guns here that I generally don't carry around every day, and they get, most of the time they spend sleeping, I get very decent battery life out of them. But the point of this video, right, the whole point I'm trying to bring out here is that the Holosun optics are going to outlast the guns, okay? And again, you're talking to a guy that's standing on a bed of brass here, right? Well, actually, it's a bed of steel case. And I can tell you that, let's take a look at this one. Like I said, this one started off on the AR, an AR-15. Right now, it's on a 12-gauge shotgun. Now you can see how it's all scratched up, right? But it's still going, right? It's still going. I probably changed the battery a couple of times, but the optic is still going. So the optic is not the weakest link in your gun. The trigger groups are, and the bolts are. So if you're the kind of person that has to have extra everything, those are the extra things I would have. Have extra trigger groups, have extra bolts. In a home defense situation, because a lot of people are like, well, what if you're in like a home defense type of situation, right? Where you got rioters trying to come into your house and kill you and your whole family. Well, hopefully you got more than one gun, right? So my thing is, you want to have 2 ARs and 2 pistols. I'm a big, because here's the thing: the purpose of your carry gun, right? The carry gun over here is to get you to your safe so you can get your rifle out. Well, if I'm going to my safe, I'm not just pulling out 1 AR. I'm pulling out 2 ARs. One I'll sling over my back. The second one I'll throw under a bed or something. Or put in maybe pull out 3 of them, right? Put hide one in the closet upstairs, hide one in the closet downstairs, someplace where I can get to it if I need to. And then I'll have one on me. Obviously, we're talking about, a pretty extreme situation there. But the point is that you're gonna have multiple guns. Now, if you only, let's say you only got one gun. Okay, if you only got one gun, hey, these Holosuns, right? They got the quick release here, right? So if you're really, if you're gonna be going into the jungle or something, right, and you're only gonna be taking one gun, right? Rather than because rather than take backup sights, right? If you're really concerned, I would just bring along a second optic. Throw that into your backpack, right? Because if you pre-zero these, right, and put them on the rifle, I mean, it will be within a couple of inches at 100 yards. I mean, you still have to take a couple of shots with it to get it perfectly zeroed. But if I were to take this off, put it back on, yeah, I mean, yeah, it would lose zero a little bit, but it will still be within a couple of inches at 100 yards, okay? So that's one of the nice things about the quick release that these Holosun 510Cs have. You don't need tools to get these on and off. You just flip this up, flip this off here. You saw how I did with the magnifier. Same system, right? Same, see how you push forward on this. Oops, I dropped that, right? So let's take that one off here. And we'll put it back on this one. This is where this one normally lives. So I have found this to be a lot more useful for the type of shooting that I do, because like I said, I'm far more likely to be shooting at distance than I am to be needing to use the flip-up sight. So anyway, I just wanted to share my experience, the conclusion that I've come to, and how I got to that. And like I said, I'm not saying that this is the one and only way to do it. Here's the thing, like on this gun over here, this is short barrel. I think this is like a 10-inch barrel. This is not something I normally shoot at distance. In fact, here's another one. This one's got a 7.5-inch barrel. So this is definitely not something I usually shoot at distance. Well, yeah, this one, sure. I'm not shooting at a distance. I have no intention of putting a magnifier here in the back. So definitely, there's no reason for me not to have the flip-up sights here. So, it's one of those things where you got to think about it. What are you likely to do, and how much space do you have? Now, how about with the pistols? Now, with the pistols, again, there's no reason not to have the iron sights, because there's nothing else I can do with that space, right? It's not like I'm going to take off this rear sight over here and put something else in this spot. So there's no reason there's no reason not to have the iron sights on here. Okay. Now on this optic here is the 507 ACSS. So I don't need to use the iron sights to help me find the set round. So even if I come out and I'm off center, the edge of the circle, a little brighter, the edge of the circle guides me to the center. Okay. If on the, let me show you the difference between the two. So in case you guys aren't familiar with it, so this one here is the, right, I'll make it a little bit brighter so you guys can see it in the camera. There you go. Okay, so this one has that circle over there, moves a little further out, which the 250 MOA circle kind of guides you to the center. So because it has that circle on the edges, I don't need to depend on the iron sights. However, this optic over here, okay, this one over here only has the, let me get this up. There it is. Okay, this one only has a 32 MOA circle. So with this one, because it doesn't have that big circle around the edges, I definitely, depending on what my situation is, if I'm coming out shooting one-handed in some awkward position like this, I might need to use the iron sights to help me find my circle. So, but again, the main thing is with the pistol, there's nothing else I can put on in that spot where the iron sights are. So there's no reason why I shouldn't have the iron sights on there. However, with these rifles, where having a magnifier is a lot more useful and something I'm more likely to use, it makes a lot more sense for me to use the space for a magnifier. So I hope this information was useful to you guys. If you got any comments, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, it's all good. Put in the comment section. I'd love to hear your ideas. Maybe you have some idea I haven't thought of yet, some consideration I haven't considered. Also, it helps the algorithms. More people get to see the videos. So yeah, drop some comments below in the comments. And if you're not, also if you're not a member of the channel, subscribe, hit the bell button. I'll talk to you guys soon.